Hey guys, it's Tim Gillette with the Tim Gillette Show. That's right. I'm Tim Gillette, your host. It's probably why the show's named after me. But anyway, it's not about me. It's about some of these cool people that I meet around the way, along the way. And one of the things that I do when meeting cool people along the way is the people who like have their name as something cool is people you got to interview. All right. When your name is Super Joe Pardo, you've got to interview the guy and find out why he calls himself Super Joe Pardo. But anyway, and I heard that there might be a campaign. Some people I heard want to run for president. Maybe we'll get into that today. I don't know. But I did find out a few things about him. He's from a similar area I'm from. So it's going to be interesting to have another Philadelphia area guy in there. So let's bring on Super Joe Pardo inside to see how he's doing. Hey, Joe, what's going on, man?
What is up, Super Tim? How you doing today?
I'm good, man. I see you got like the games all behind you.
Yeah, well, I'm out here in the garage, and because it's it's so nice out, I can open the garage door up, and it's and I'm by my family. My family is like right outside the back door here, so like instead of being like pushed away in my upstairs office, like I try to get down here and do do things down here. Plus, I have really good lighting down here because I have some like big box lights.
Well, I was going to say, you know what I mean? Is it really nice outside? Like, I would love to be outside doing my podcast right now.
I could. I mean, I'm like one cable away. I could just like pick the table up and like bring it out front. But they're sanding chairs right outside the door, so I had to bring my car in. So my car was brought in. But you see my big box lights up there.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it you may do. I'm hoping it doesn't come through. The sanding comes through on the audio.
So yeah, so we live in a condo here in Dallas, and my wife is home. So it's like she's downstairs, and every now and then, if we have a conference calls at the same time, we echo into each other's call. When we set this up, it wasn't designed around having two people in the office. But anyway, how many studios do you have over there, Joe, at your house?
Two. The one down here, and then the one I broadcasted from, which is the problem with the one upstairs is it's right next to my daughter's bedroom. So at night, I needed somewhere else I could go because otherwise she'd just be like,
"Yeah,
what are you doing in there? Can I come in?
Yeah.
Can I say hi?"
Wow.
So it's like, all right, I need somewhere I can go downstairs, and also to be loud because like the way I do my shows, like the intros are usually quite loud, and I just need the a place that I can go and not disturb anybody. So here I am in the garage. Which fortunately, I've been trying to make the background. I mean, I got these wires over here I want to take care of. I got to figure out how I'm gonna like route them down and around a little bit better. But for the most part, and like obviously there's like, I need to put some, that's insulation sitting right on the wall. I need to like cover that side of the wall with some plywood or something. But I think it adds to the realness of it. And you can see somebody's walking in the door right now. Hi, Ava.
But you got to admit that's like one of the coolest backdrops in the world is gaming machines. Come on,
you got a
pinball machine. Is that a pinball?
So this is a pitch and bat behind me.
Oh, okay.
Where somebody pitches the ball and somebody hits the ball, and you play baseball. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, whenever I would go down to Ocean City, they had one. Actually, they used to have two, but now they just had. Last time I was down there, there was one, and it's like 50 cents per player per inning. Wow. And it's 9 innings. So it's like, okay, so if I do 2 players, that's like $18.
Yeah.
$9.
Yeah.
So it's like, I only have to play this a couple of times, and I could like just buy the machine myself. And it's been a challenge to keep it running and rolling, but I've learned a lot. Because I mean, like, this is electromechanical. This is from like 1969 over here. The one that's this has been in my family for a long time.
Wow.
But that's all electromechanical, so I had to learn how to fix that so that I could keep it because it wasn't working at the time. But it's fun. And then this is a Blitz cabinet, so it's supposed to be a Blitz and Showtime cabinet. But I don't have Showtime. I just have Blitz, which I'm okay with because I love Blitz.
Are those the only 3 games you have, or you have more of them in other parts of the house?
There's a basketball game.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
There.
I see it. Yeah.
And there's my turntables over there that I
Yeah.
just recently put in. Like I said, the wall's a little disgusting.
Right.
It's just insulation, so I gotta do something about it. When I can get back into Home Depot,
Yeah.
I really need to do something about that.
Well, I mean, so you've got a lot. I mean, I've noticed you have a lot of like things you're into. I mean, you're DJing, you're into games. All right. You come on, you run Indie PodCon. I mean, come on. Like, dude, you've got talent.
Well, thank you. I appreciate somebody recognize it. So glad somebody can recognize it. To me, like, everything was revolving around computers growing up. So like I have a very computer brain, but also, like creativity, creating things. So and bringing people together. So for me, like I just love the idea that I can do all these things, and that's why running events is so great. I mean, as you know, Tim,
Yeah.
it requires a lot. Like, unless you're gonna pay people or get a bunch of volunteers that all have the skills to do it. Like when I run Indie PodCon, like I'm setting up the speakers, I'm setting up the projector, I'm setting up the laptop to do it. I got all the talks together. I'm hosting it. I'm vlogging during it. I have my vlogging camera down here, but I just cleaned off the the bowling alley behind me. I'm vlogging during it. I'm running the event. I'm getting the tech running the tech at the same time. Like I do all these things because like I just enjoy it. Like I would get bored otherwise. Honestly, it's yeah, I don't know. I'm just very
It's
fortunate.
I think it's a unique way of you putting your skills and your hobbies together. Really, I mean, it sounds like, you know what I mean. You know how many times we go, okay, well, it's no longer a hobby; it's a job now. It doesn't sound like you have that problem.
No, well, here's the thing. Like, I wish everything I did made some form of income, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I as
Don't
growing
we
up,
all?
well, I grew up in a family business, and
Yeah.
I left it in 2014, but I, I wish that everything I did, like I wish games with Super Joe Pardo was like, getting donations and things. It's like, oh, if I stream for an hour or two, like I can make some money, even if it's not like a ton of money, but at least just to like put back into the equipment and all that I buy for it. And to me it's also just fun, right? Like
Yeah.
I think it's fun to have. I think it's really neat that we live in a time where our hobbies can become full-time things.
Yeah.
Where maybe like 50 years ago that wasn't a thing, right? Like it had to be a necessity. Now, like if you're into makeup, putting makeup on, like that can become a thing that is your thing that you do all of the time.
Yeah. And like, you look at, I mean, business as what it was even 20 years ago has changed so much. I mean, it's, I like to call it like the influencer generation. All right. To basically, you can run a podcast about almost anything and become an influencer. You've noticed that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a niche for everything. It's just a matter of finding what you're actually interested in, right? Like if you're interested enough in it, then you can make that work. If because like say like 4 years, 4 years before I started up the Dreamers podcast, I was told I should have my own podcast talking about Disney World, because like that's the niche that I was going there 4-6 times a year. I was running a bunch of races and going to a bunch of events down there and making tons of friends that were are all connected in there, and I'm still fortunate enough to call a lot of them close friends. And I see a lot of them when I go down there now, but they're now with 2 kids. I only go down maybe once a year so far. But yeah, so but for me, like I was like, I'll get bored of this. Like I love Disney, but I don't live down there, right? So like I can't, like how am I gonna? I can't. I don't know. I just didn't see it at the time, and that was in like 2011.
Yeah.
So 2010, 2011. So had I did that, like I would have, I would have been that much further ahead of the curve. But it's all good. Everything works out for a reason, right? And I always say the universe provides. So, and the universe being however you want to take that. But to me, like it really does. Like there's always another opportunity that presents itself, and that's kind of like how look, we all got self-quarantined, and in that I was like, hey, let me do a virtual conference. I've done virtual events going back to 2015 with my podcast, doing these live stream like telethon things to raise money and celebrate the anniversary of my show. So for me, like it's like, oh, I've done this before. Like I know exactly what to do, and I'll just put it together. I mean, what I didn't do was to coordinate like 40 plus speakers at the last one, and now 20 speakers just 2 weeks later for entrepreneurs. So the first one was for podcasting for Indie PodCon, and this one's going to be for podcasting or for entrepreneurship, learning and inspiration. So it's coordinating with that many speakers has actually been very easy, and I wonder if part of that is because people are kind of stuck at home, so they have that extra 2 minutes to read the email that I send, and digest it, and get all their questions answered. Versus, normally it'd be like, oh, I didn't see that email, or oh, I didn't, read it all the way through, or I'm asking questions that I already answered in the email.
Well, and I've noticed that. I mean, it was great, being part of the Independent Podcasters virtual event. I mean, I enjoyed it. All right. And, I know a lot of people who have real events like you and I do regular events that are having to switch to this right now, because this is the time, and myself included, my events have to go virtual because of what we're doing. But I noticed something about your event. You had such a diversity of speakers. Many of them were not really speakers as a profession. Like, I'm speaker as a profession. You know what I mean? Many of yours weren't. So it's like, is that a lot of relationships you had, that you had that filled in and go, hey, I'll be a speaker?
Yeah, a lot of them were from relationships, and a lot of them, are not like, but I mean, Indie PodCon, formerly Mid-Atlantic Podcast Conference, has always pretty much been the non-professional speakers conference. We've had a couple of professional speakers that came and speak over the years, and it's great. I don't not welcome it. Like, and we kind of pride ourselves on like being homegrown and independent, which is why we shifted the name to Independent Podcast Conference. And, so to me, like it makes a big difference in the sense that people are coming and they're learning from each other, versus then like, hey, I got to go, follow the major influencer that's going to be there. Like, and truth be told, like, I don't know that I want the responsibility of like, hey, I'm going to have CaseyNice.com. Well, it's going to cost me $50,000. And now I got to pay that. Like, I got to make sure that I'm filling the seats with the people. And then, is it really aligned with the people that come to Indie PodCon? Like, is the message, like, it would be great. Like, if, and I would never turn anybody like that down, right? Like, that's the whole thing. Is like, hey, if Casey, phoned up and said, hey, Casey would love to come and speak at Indie PodCon because he loves podcasting and wants to be there. Like, absolutely. Yeah. Can I pay him $50,000? Absolutely not. There's just not the budget for it. And, because part of the other thing is that this is really a community based conference, group. So it's not like we're trying to get like, okay, we're just going to latch on to whoever the big name is right now, fly them in, and then we're going to just, shotgun blast out as much, press about it as we possibly can to get every single person who might not really fit with the look and the feel and the atmosphere of the community that we've built.
So the key is, I think here is you built a community and then you built an event.
Yeah, not the other. Yeah, it's definitely not the other way around.
See, whereas, like my events, I'm trying to build an event and build a community, mastermind type community off of it. Right. And there's nothing wrong with either way, really. There isn't, but it's you did it in a unique way. Yeah.
I did it in a way that I knew, right? Because our first event was in a school gymnasium that I got for free because I taught podcasting to middle schoolers at that school.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, okay, how do I get the price down so much that people just say, yes, I'm going to come? And we had people fly from Florida, fly from Atlanta, drove from Atlanta, two people drove from Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
like 8 hours each way to, to be at the event. And we just had such there's so many great people that were at that first event, like
Mm-hmm.
including like Jennifer Crawford, Jessica Kupferman, Dave Jackson, Matthew Passy, and these people have all elevated themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many other people too. I don't want to like discount any names or anything, but like of the people that were there, like they have all like those, handful of people have elevated themselves year and year and year and year over.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part have all come to all of the events that the conference has held. So
Yeah.
it's really but it's magical, and at the same time, like people have told me over the years, like, Joe, we're coming because of you, not
Yeah.
because of the speaker that you have or anything like that. And I don't even speak at the thing. Like I don't even speak at these events. I spoke this past year on a reflection of 5 years of doing the event.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So I don't know.
So yeah. Don't tell my coach that. My coach believes I should be on when I host my event. I should be on the stage more than 50% of the time. But that's
it
that's
just
what my
depends on
coach teaches me.
what your goal is, right?
Well,
Like
that's it. My conference is a different conference than yours,
yes,
and it just is. So yeah.
I want people to feel like they're in my living room, right? And they're
Yeah.
coming and hanging out, and we're talking podcasting for 2 days, and we're giving stuff away, we're having a great time, you're rubbing elbows because you're in one room with everybody.
Yeah.
So like the high ends, podcasters have been doing it for a long time. They're sitting right next to you, and you're like joking with them, and there's inside jokes being created and things like that. So it just depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Like I've always been one to shine the light on everybody else. So for me, like this made sense. Like it's not that I couldn't give a talk about podcasting or anything like that. It's that I don't feel that I necessarily need to, and I don't really want to, even though I'm hosting it, I don't necessarily want to make it all about me. I want to make it about them, right? About not even just the speakers, but the attendees who come and have a brilliant time. The attendees that come back to me and say, Joe, this is the only conference I've ever been to where I didn't have to wear high heels, and I absolutely appreciate that. Thank you so much for saving my feet. Like that's the magic.
Well, I mean, in it there, you know what I mean? You kind of you touched on something I want to kind of go back to a bit. First of all, you know what I mean? You touched on the Disney thing. All right. And I noticed though on Facebook you're friends with Terry Harden out in California.
Yes.
You know Terry?
Yes.
Terry's one of my clients. So
oh, really?
Like, yeah.
Oh, she is awesome. I interviewed her a number of years ago at this point. And I got to spend some time with her in person. I went out to breakfast with her with Esprit Devora. We were hanging out. Me and her were hanging out for the day, and we met at a restaurant or something, cafe next to Disneyland, and I got to have breakfast with Terry Harden, which was it was an experience to say the least. She is one of the most passionate people I know.
She is. I love her. I mean, she's become a great part of our mastermind, a great leader in our mastermind as well. So, I mean, I noticed that it's like, that's a Disney connection. She's got Disney related stuff because she's an Imagineer. But then also, do you know Lou?
Lou Mangello.
Yeah,
of
Lou.
course. Yeah.
I met Lou at the first podcast movement.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
that's where I'd never known him before.
I knew him quite a while before that because of the Disney connection, the Disney circles. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just interesting. The people who you know what I mean? You follow people in that niche, and most people go, well, there's only one, room for one person in a niche. The three of you have just proven there's three different avenues looking at Disney stuff right there.
Yeah, I mean, my show was originally comprised of a lot of Disney people. I did a Disney show for a while with a co-host, where we interviewed Disney legends, and I've gotten to become friends with quite a few of them. I wish I still was doing that show, honestly, but Terry Harden's one of them. Mike Purcell is another one.
Yeah.
I mean, I got the interview. So Dr. Jeff Barnes, who wrote the Wisdom of Walt books. Yeah, I mean, it was a magical thing. It unfortunately only lasted like 30 some episodes, but yeah, the Disney connection is strong, man.
What's the most episodes you've ever done for a podcast?
So right now it's the Dreamers podcast. It's 392 episodes, 393 episodes. It's going to be rebranded soon to the Super Joe Pardo show, because of the fact that everything else is already at Super Joe Pardo. So it's probably a long time coming. And this will be the third time it'll have been rebranded. It was originally Dreamers Podcast, then it became Business with Super Joe Pardo, and then went back to being Dreamers Podcast after 2 years. And now, almost a year after going back to Dreamers Podcast, I've decided to just change the name and just make it fold it into the brand completely.
So, I mean, and have you ever done anything Bazaars like what I'm trying to do here in 30 days?
Change a whole conference over to virtual?
Well, no. Yeah, that I'm trying to do. And at the same time, I'm trying to do, because I'm stuck at home, 100 interviews in 30 days.
I probably have come close to that. At one point when I was doing a couple, like I do 3 shows right now, 3 different shows. And then, back then, yeah, I probably was getting close to, in 30 days, because I was running so far ahead of schedule, and at one point I was releasing the show 5 days a week. So I was like probably not far off from that at one point. Yeah.
Are you well right now with the shows you've got going? Are you recording like a podcast a day right now, or no? Or more?
No. So I record. We just moved the Business Geeks podcast, which I launched with Samantha Riley and Jennifer Crawford. We geek out about business and other geeky, nerdy things. And we do that. We were doing that on Tuesday nights at 8:00 Eastern. Now 8 p.m. Eastern. And now we just moved it because Samantha's in Australia. So we moved it to Mondays because it conflicted with her schedule. Once the daylight savings time changes over. So we're on Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then on Wednesdays I do the Indie podcast, which I gotta have you on, Tim. I gotta get you the link to guest up there. So we do both of those live on Facebook. The Dreamers podcast, I've done a little bit of live. I try to do them. Well, here's the thing. So before like COVID, right? Life, I was trying to up the production value of them. So like I was like going out to a park and it was freezing because it was like December and early January, and I was recording them out in the park, and I was doing it as a YouTube video, and then stripping the audio out for the podcast. But
which is what I do.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what
most
we're doing
of us are
now.
doing that now. Yeah.
Right. But the thing is, like, I'm going out with like the tripod or the monopod with the little tripod on the bottom, and like trying to get like different angles and shoot B-roll and like get my drone out and like do all these things, and while it's fun, it just takes a lot of time to both edit and all that. So like I think once I switch over to the Super Joe Pardo show, I might do like a Thursday night or something like that, or I was actually thinking about maybe doing it in the morning at like 7 a.m. Before I go into the shop, the repair shop that I work at for my family.
I totally, Joe, had thought about with mine. I mean, just times of the day. And right now I'm running a daily nighttime thing called Virtual Happy Hour. And
I've been seeing them. Yeah, I want to get in on them. The problem is are they at 7 o'clock?
They are 6
Eastern.
Yeah, 6 p.m. Central, so 7 Eastern. Yeah.
Yeah. The problem is that's when it's bath, book, and bedtime with the kids. So it's hard for me to jump in there.
But yeah, I mean, it's that's the thing with so many of us doing podcasts now, and a lot of people, you know what I mean. Well, people like you and me, we've been doing them for years. But so many people who have not been doing them are all like, oh man, and they're jumping in and doing it, and they're like, well, I can't be on everybody's show and I can't watch everybody's show. Yeah, I know. That's part of what we've been dealing with for years. We all have a life too outside of our podcast.
I mean, when I first started, I didn't have a life outside of the podcast for the most part. I was podcasting. I mean, my schedules. I mean, there was one day I think I did like 6 or 7 interviews, and that doesn't that. And if they were all virtual, that wouldn't be a thing. But the thing was, is they weren't all virtual.
Yeah.
So I had people coming to the house to record. I had a couple of them virtual, and then I think 2 of them I literally had to go pick them up and bring them back to the house, and then drop them off. And then I think, that night, so I dropped off one, and then the other one showed up at like 10 o'clock at night. And I was still recording at like 11:30 or whatever we got done at like midnight, and he left because he had kids and he could only do it that late. And one of them was in my friend Jared Diamond, who writes for the Wall Street Journal. He was in Philly covering he was covering the Mets at the time, so he was in Philly with the Mets. And so I had to go pick him up in Philly. My one friend and I had to go get out of Pennsauken in the morning. I had a couple in between that came. I think one came over, and then one or two that were virtual. So like that day was exhausting for me.
Yeah, it's a long day.
Yeah, I can't. Especially now with the kids, like I can't. I had to be mindful of my energy and my energy level. So like there's only so much I can effectively do. Like in the beginning, I was like, come on, let me out. Like, let me go. I'm gonna knock it all out. I'm gonna do it all, and I could. But also it was before kids. Yeah. And now kids that are like expecting me to like do things with them, not just like change my diaper and like watch me rock in the chair or watch me take a nap. These are kids, one's 4 and one's 2, so they want interaction all day, not just like Sleepy Joe.
Yeah, it's mine are grown, but I mean, I remember those young years. My younger years, I drove truck, and I would be gone 7 days. So I'd come home and I'd get like 5 hours with my daughter that I was awake, and then I'd be back in the truck and gone. And I hated it, but
I'm sure it's a trade-off. It does. I working in the trucking industry all my life. I understand, man. Yeah. It's tough.
So Joe, let me twist a little bit. How far are you out of Philly? How far away from Philly are you?
Well, as Reger Ona Fet Sid said in the chat, I am right down the street from him. You could, if you go down the street from my house, like about a mile and a half, 2 miles, you can actually see the Philadelphia skyline. So it's like right there. I'm like right up against the Delaware River.
Oh, okay. So I grew up. I grew up in the Northeast, up in the Poconos. But in my senior year, I lived in like the Norristown, Souderton area of. Okay. I was over the river from
up there.
Yeah, I was over the river from you, but
it's a lot closer than you think. It's just with traffic, it takes forever to get up to Norristown area.
Yeah. That is like, when I used to do stuff in Philly, I used to hate driving to Philly. And actually, I remember stories of like the Schuylkill Expressway. My dad, worked down by the airport, and we lived in, I think, Telford or Souderton at the time. And Dad one time getting stuck on there because of an accident and sat there for like 18 hours.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because they couldn't move. And literally, that is the highway. If you get stuck on certain parts of it, you can't get off.
Yeah, because they don't have shoulders in some of those areas.
Yeah, so you just basically park your car. And he said we were all hanging out outside. None of us were in our cars. I'm like, what? I've avoided that stretch as much as I could. Well, back then they didn't have the blue route. So that was your way to get to the airport. You had to go down. Everybody had to go down to Schuylkill and get over. I mean, the blue route when it came in, I think it was the 80s or 90s when the blue route came in. But yeah,
I was born in 86, so I'm not. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I don't remember being.
Yeah, this was before your time. So 86. So my daughter is 2 years younger than you. She was born in 88. Yeah.
Oh no. Oh, cool.
So. Anyway, it's interesting. Some of the things that you've done. All right. You got a great young family and everything. So you're still working with the family business. You know what I mean? You said, or you?
Yeah. So I left in 2014. I was not happy anymore. Actually, I probably hadn't been happy in a lot longer than at that point. But I decided to leave. I wasn't sure what the heck I was going to do. I don't have a degree, and I didn't really have any. I had contacts in the tech world because I grew up like my family grew up under trucks. I grew up in front of computers,
Mm-hmm.
so I had a lot of friends in the tech world. But I didn't have any certifications either. So like
Mm-hmm.
while I grew up, going from like the warehouse to the counter, dealing with the customers, to sales, to working handling all the IT work for we were the largest independently owned truck parts company on the East Coast. So it's we had like 9 locations, and what I did was I did a lot of like operations work, but from the tech side. But I
Mm-hmm.
also worked, like, had my hands in pretty much everything at the time. So growing up, then it turned into operations director of operations, and really like implementing lots of changes and things of that nature, inventory management, and it was
It sounds like a lot
fine.
of boring jobs, but anyway.
Yeah, well,
I can see why you weren't happy.
yeah, I mean, for me, they weren't.
Yeah.
They weren't. I mean, they were fulfilling at the time, but
Mm-hmm.
especially like some of the projects I got to work on, like I reduced our inventory levels from $6 million down to 2.5, but between 2.5 and $3 million
Mm-hmm.
in about a year, by developing an algorithm that adjusted our inventories based on like actual usage versus just like, I'm gonna hoard this stuff because it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And that was a huge turning point in 2012, and by 2014 I was or actually by the middle of 2013, I was burnt out and said, like, I'm out of here in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And then I still didn't know I went back to school. I didn't know what I was going to do. And it wasn't until a month after, like I left, that I found podcasting. I was already doing podcasts. I was doing interviews on shows for my DJ album that had just come out in April.
Mm-hmm.
So I was loving it, but like I didn't really think about podcasting in a interview style.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was like, oh, I'm going on these, because it was a Disney mashup album. So it was
Yeah.
Disney music mashed up with like hip hop and rock instrumentals to tell the story of Pixar's Up. And
Cool.
yeah, and we raised money for a charity. Like it was a great experience. I absolutely love it. But the thing was like, it kind of showed me like how much work I could put into something creative,
Mm-hmm.
and get so much fulfilled out of it. I mean, I had been DJing since 2004, but I never put like an album together, and I was kind of rusty at that point. So like, because I wasn't doing it every weekend or anything like that. So I put the work in, did 3 months to get it, and we got like pressed up CDs and raised money for Give Kids the World, and it was awesome. So that comes out, and I was doing all these interviews on like Disney roundtable discussion podcasts and stuff, and it was great. It was a fun time. I'm on a plane to Disney World, and with a friend of mine to go run a race, and he's like, "Oh, well, have you heard of Entrepreneur on Fire?" And this is like May of 2014. So it's still like he had only just started it not that long prior to that. And I was like, "Oh, there's a show where they just interview people?" Like that didn't occur to me. Like, oh, that's crazy. So I was like, I have to know a bunch of people in business. Like, I could totally do something like that. I'm loving this interaction, being on, podcasts and stuff. And I was like, well, I know a lot more people living their dreams. So when the plane landed, I had a list of people I was going to have on the show, the people that I like, maybe about half of it I knew. I reached out to my friend Al Kessel, who became my Mr. Voice. He's a professional voice actor who just had me on his show like a week or two earlier. And I was like, hey, can you help me get some of the tech together? And 2 weeks or so, the plane lands. On the way to the rental car, I registered the domain name, the Facebook page, and the Twitter handle, Dreamers Podcast. And 2 weeks later, I had a show. So for me though, I've been blogging since '96. So for me, it wasn't like a weird thing to create content. And for me, like, I knew how to record audio. I already knew how to build websites. I've been doing that since since like 96, 97.
Yeah.
So for me, it just made sense, and I was just like, I ran with it. But what I didn't prepare for was how I was going to go about making money from it and
Mhm.
sustaining my life, because I owned a house and I had a car and a wife, and fortunately no kids at the time, but I knew, like, I could see like the path to doing it. So I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna do this and keep it rolling. So here we are, almost 6 years later. In May, in a month it'll be 6 years later,
6 years
this
later.
all took
Yeah,
place.
I'm 10 years into this, and mine started with a blog.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome, man.
So, but I mean, you mentioned something about doing stuff on Disney. By the way, this is a kid who actually wrote a blog about Disney. It was a Disney Club Penguin,
Oh yeah.
and he wrote this. He had created a blog, and he wrote a book about creating a blog. He's now in film school. All right, he's in college,
Oh wow.
and he didn't want these books anymore because he didn't want this picture of him, this young picture. So I have a blogging conference. So I basically, when he was selling out, I go, "How much for all you have left?" So now people all the time, "Oh wow, a short book on how to be a blog. Can I buy just the book?" Like, no, you have to buy a ticket to my event. That's how you make money.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of stumbling blocks and reimagining and rebranding along the way, and finding myself, right, because like
Yeah.
part of doing the Dreamers podcast was to help figure out what the heck I wanted
I want
to
to
do.
do. Yeah, I love that.
Because I really didn't know.
Mhm.
And nobody seemed to be interested in even giving me a shot as far as like operations management or anything like that. So and I didn't really want to do that. I just also didn't want to lose my house. I've
Yeah.
lived in this house since 92.
Mhm.
I bought it from my dad back in 2009, and I have no interest in leaving. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So
there was nothing more that will drive you in finding a way to make a living now, right, than wanting to keep something. You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
most people are out there trying to do this, and you probably see them too. It irks me how many people are like, "Well, check out my Lamborghini." I don't give a rat's crap about your Lamborghini. You know,
I wouldn't want that payment.
yeah,
Honestly, it's bad enough I have a car payment to begin with.
yeah. To me, I want to keep my Dodge truck. All right, you know what I mean. I was motorcycles for years, but I got rid of all my motorcycles recently. But that's it. It's like you with the game. It's like
Yeah.
that's let me make money so I can buy the toys I want, not the glamour. I mean, I don't need the Mercedes and stuff like that.
Well,
Yeah.
I had an Audi
Did ya?
S3 from 2016 to just recently when I got the Chevy Bolt,
Mhm.
which is all electric, and that's one of the for me, it's all about performance, right? It
Mhm.
has to perform the way I want it. So
Mhm.
I don't really care what the logo is. I don't care about the brand or the lifestyle or anything like
Mhm.
that. For me, it was like when I sat in the car, I was like, yes, this performs the way
Yeah.
I want it. It handles the way I want it, and it responds. Like, I don't drive fast, but I like to have the power to get out of the way.
Yes.
And that for me, like, I mean, I've had other high end cars. I mean, the highest other high end car is an IS350, that for a 2008 IS350 from Lexus.
Yeah.
But that car, I didn't even like that car as much as I liked my Mini Cooper, my 2004 Mini Cooper that I had prior to that. Because it didn't handle very well. It went fast, and I was like, oh, cool, like it goes fast, but like I don't care that much about it. I want it to be able to handle.
Yeah.
So performance for me is really a high bar, and it's probably more about my function over form life living
Mhm.
and that kind of problem solving mentality that I have than anything. So because a lot of people are like, you got rid of an Audi to get a Chevy Bolt, and I'm like, yeah, it's electric. It's not going to cost me anything in maintenance.
Yeah.
Like, and I can charge it at my house for just like a couple of dollars.
Yeah. Well, like my
Like,
brother,
this is awesome.
yeah, I have a brother who's got his wife wanted a BMW. She's got that, and he's got like a Chevy. What is it, like the Colorado pickup? He loves it,
Oh, okay.
right? Well, she, now that her BMW is old, she's like, well, I just want to get a Chevy. It's like how much. Some people, I've got a Dodge truck, a Ram truck, I guess they're called now. I wanted it because I wanted a big diesel black truck. That's it. When you can live life getting what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Life's great.
Yeah, well, I think it also comes back to what your personal brand, whether you're a personal brand business or not is
Yeah.
is separate from the personal brand, right?
Yeah.
So like for me, like I've mostly have had sports versions of cars. I mean, even
Mhm.
this car, it's all 0 to 60 is like 6.5 seconds. It's not a Tesla, but the thing was Tesla wasn't giving the incentives that Chevy did at the time,
Yeah.
or else I probably would have had a Tesla.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's what people expect out of your ideal, like how you think and how you react. And so it's not like, oh, I went from having, like, I was always driving junker cars to all of a sudden now I'm buying the Lamborghini because, well, I made it, I got rich and
Yeah.
I have all this money now. Um if you were into like collecting cars, like you would be into collecting cars when you have almost no money,
Yeah.
right? So you would find another way to collect cars. They might not be Lamborghinis and Ferraris, but they might be Firebirds or something that you got used and fixed it up. Like if that's your thing, then that's your thing. Like
Yeah.
or if you're into boats, like my dad's big into boats. He's always had a boat since he was like 20 years old. So, for him to have a bigger and a bigger and a bigger boat is not uncommon. Like for me, I hate boats. I have zero interest in boats. So if I went out and bought a boat, everyone, like, oh, look at me, I got a big boat. Like it would be like, why? Like what? And maybe it's all in my head. I don't know. But here's the thing: I have to live with the head, right?
Yeah.
I gotta live with the person inside.
Yeah. My dad was into boats. I was into Harleys. So it's like you've got to find your own passion. So, so Joe, you doing these events, all right? And I know you got another one coming up here on the 11th, which is Saturday, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Saturday, 9 a.m.
Tell us about
to
that
5
a little
p.m.
bit, will you?
Eastern.
Yeah.
So I love bringing people together. And we had such a blast doing the live indie podcast or indie podcast conference that was virtual back on like 2 weekends ago. And I was like, I want to take this to to the Super Joe Pardo brand and host an event, bring like 20 speakers in. I can't do 2 days like I did with the Indie Pod virtual conference. And the reason is because my wife is, on the hook to watch the kids for 2 straight days. And there's no grandparents or anybody around at this point to be able to help watch them. So for me, it was all about like, how can I just put something together? It's one day, and we're gonna basically do the same format. It's kind of like a live telethon. It was someone I was just talking to was like, oh, it reminded me of like the Jerry Lewis days of telethoning. And I was like, while I'm a little too young to appreciate that, I do appreciate the sentiment because I know the name and I know what he accomplished. So no, thank you, Reger, I appreciate it. Yeah, so we're getting together. It's for 8 hours of learning and inspiration. I didn't want to niche this one down too far, just because it's the first one under the Super Joe Pardo, the super brand. So for me, it was like, okay, so I just get a bunch of entrepreneurs together, and hopefully we're gonna bring in people that either have their own business and are looking for inspiration, especially as we're all dealing with this craziness of COVID-19, self-isolation, self-quarantining, and people are kind of they're stuck at home for the most part, and they want something to do. So just mobilize the troops, the people that I know and can count on, and like the one that you mentioned before, the speakers are not all professional speakers. So it's a lot of them are like real stories, like not that professional speakers aren't giving real stories, but they're real stories told by people who aren't being paid by other people to tell those stories, right? So they're not maybe bundled up as neatly as they probably could or should be, but this we all have to dig in deep, and like I said, to me, I've always been about bringing people together, even from a young age. I've been around event hosting and stuff since I was a kid, with my family's business. So for me, this is just another way of doing that. So it's totally free. You don't even have to sign up for an email list. You can like my the Super Joe Pardo Facebook page, like that would be awesome. But you don't have to. You just go to superjoepardo.com/super 9 a.m. Eastern on Saturday morning, and jump, hit the play button. And what I was told was a lot of people were watching the last one we did for Indie PodCon from their iPad, and they just moved their iPad like around the house with them all day to be able to just watch throughout the day. And it's all live. There's no pre-recorded anything. So I'm interacting with people in between each session, and it's just a lot of, we just have a lot of fun. Throw, the comments up in between, so we're getting live reactions from people. Regular.
Yeah, there's a good comment there, Regular. Yeah.
You want to read that?
Some professional speakers give the same presentation over and over again. I prefer to watch presentations by those who are genuine and put the time into creating a new presentation.
And I think
that is why I'm the way I am as a speaker, right there.
and I think one of the things is like, it's the same mentality of putting everybody in the room at the same time, especially because you have the chat for the instant gratification that you're able to filter in. So we're creating inside jokes as we go through, and you create that vibe. And for me, that's just everything. It's just fun. That's the fun part. And
it's real because every now and then you get somebody who their microphone is either way off or they're right on top of it. You get it and you can tell. That's how I can tell. And most of them, though, almost everybody there that I watched had me glued to the screen to watch this. I literally was that into it because everybody was sharing a passion, but almost everybody. I mean, there was one or two that didn't have me glued. All right. But I'm talking almost all of them had me to where I'm I couldn't leave to go to the bathroom. I was afraid I was going to miss something from them. That was what was exciting about that conference. Yeah.
Yeah. I really appreciate that because honestly, I wasn't sure how many people we were going to have, and welcome Larry, welcome to
Larry's in finally, yeah.
I wasn't sure how many people we were really going to have. I knew that the group was growing. My whole so from my perspective, it's all about having a goal, right? So with the Indie Pod virtual podcast conference, I was like, here's my goal. I want to increase the Facebook group numbers, from we were at 700 something. I want to increase it, right? We've gone almost 500 people deep, and the group was still growing every day anyway. But there was at one point where we were having 4 or 5 people an hour, 6 people an hour join the group. So it was that worked out really well. And I wanted to, obviously I wanted to bring people together and give people hope and something to do. Apparently Larry was watching the watch party. That's something that StreamYard's got to fix because when comments don't
happen, it
did. Yeah, it happens. It happens a lot actually. So it makes it kind of difficult.
So because of you, I now am connected to Larry. All right. And we literally can throw stones and hit each other's houses and we didn't know each other. That's what's awesome about that.
Oh wow, yeah, I didn't realize you lived that close to
him. He's Louisville, I'm North Dallas. It's
and you got Joel down there too, Bogus.
Bogus, yeah, I've known Joel for years. Yeah.
I haven't known him for years and years, but I've known him for 4 or 5 years now.
And my next one that I'm doing this afternoon is from yours is Jen Sugarmeyer, who also in Dallas. So, and I didn't know Jen. All right, but anyway, that's all people I met through you. Yeah,
that's so awesome though. I knew there was a lot of people that would be watching. I didn't realize how many people were getting involved and in the chat and all that. It was magical. It was definitely a memory that I will cherish. The only thing, look, if there was one thing that I wish, there's always something you want to do better, right? Larry's still be over for a cup of sugar. If you're always streaming, you're always striving for more.
Better.
For me, if there was one thing I wish we could have had more of, I wish our concurrent viewers would have gotten closer to 100 to 120. That's the only thing. Now, with that said, I am super appreciative of the literally on Saturday, once it got above 40 viewers, it never went below 40 users, and we got up to 60 plus users.
Yeah.
And even after, I was like, okay, I have to cut the stream off so so Facebook doesn't cut it off at the end. And we jumped to a second stream that I created. We went from like 60, 61, 62 down to like 40, and then it crept back up to 50. But it took like an hour to creep back up. But the amount of like consistency in those numbers was extremely it meant a lot to me. I like I said, the only thing is if I could have had anything go differently, I would have liked to see that 100 viewership, consistent viewers. That's the only thing.
Now I'm working on mine. I don't know if this is ideas, all right, for mine, because I separate mine into 2 days, or into 2 parts every day, like you. But I take a lunch break. I'm actually trying to create this networking event on Zoom, because it's got the breakout rooms.
Yep.
So basically, I'm going to say, you can eat your lunch. We're on a break for an hour, and then I'm going to randomly switch you to rooms to network and meet there. I'm trying to. I don't have it down yet, but I'm like,
what if they're in the middle of a conversation?
I don't know. I think I'm going to go in and do a timing. Like, I don't know. But I want to do it right. But like, you inspired me when you told me that 8 hours. Like, okay, I've got to break this up. And that's when I was like, I'm going to
for Facebook Live. It wouldn't. I mean, even with Indie PodCon in September, where Icon 6, like, I don't know. I don't know if we can't do it live, like in person. We're gonna go virtual. I don't know if I'm gonna use Zoom or not.
I like that. No, I like the StreamYard into the group, which I'm doing 2 other events for people that same way. I learned it from you. Yeah.
And that's the thing. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I think the breakout room thing is a great idea. I think that I know Samantha Riley did it for her. She was supposed to have an event like 2 weeks ago. It was supposed to be live in person, and a week before they were, they locked down Australia. So she had to like figure all this out. And what she did was try to bring every aspect of a live event into the Zoom breakout rooms, and like from lunch, and then even at the bar. Like, she's like, all right, we're gonna end it, like, it's over, thank you all for coming, blah 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 blah, we're going to go hang out at the bar, like, come back with your favorite drink. And they talked for 2 more hours, like, in around like 11 of the 20 people or whatever stayed for like 2 hours to talk.
So, I mean, I've gone way past what I do, 45 minutes.
This is your show. You just do what you gotta do.
This is such a good show. You don't want to end it.
I don't, man. Yeah. I'm honored to be here, and I'm happy to talk about anything. And screw time limits. Time limits, they're so arbitrary, and most of the time they're not for any realistic reason. It's your show, and if you want to do a show that's 3 hours long, then do a show for 3 hours. I mean, there's nothing wrong. There's no such thing as too long, just too boring.
That's the thing, is you have to learn you have to learn based on how much your people want to hear from you. There's some people whose shows at 45 minutes or 30 minutes are too long, and there's some people whose shows at 40 minutes or an hour are too short.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just the industry. But this has been one of the most interesting interviews I've done. We've talked on the phone once, and then we did the conference together, but we've been chatting now since this.
Yeah.
You gave me so many ideas doing that conference. I'm like, but we learn. We're all learning from one another. So
I mean, there's other things that I wish I had done a little bit differently. Like, I wish I had set a higher goal for like, we're raising money, right, for the CDC. Like, I should have set a goal of like $1,000, and maybe, I mean, we hit over $525 that last I saw it. I haven't looked lately, but.
Yeah, only one person. I made this thing on there. I said, if you don't, what did I say? Was it $10 or $20?
$25.
$25. If you donated $25, I would give you a $300 ticket to my event for free. One person.
One person. Are you able to say that person's name? I'm curious.
I've got to go. Yeah, yes, I'm going to, because I got to figure out. I have it here. Hold on, because he just emailed me yesterday because I had to switch mine to virtual, and he sent me an email saying he's looking forward to it. Still. Gosh, where's that email now? I hate it because I have hundreds of emails to go through. I want to say, no, it wasn't. No, I interviewed Steve Green. It wasn't him. It was yesterday's emails that came in. And I can't remember who it was. Let me try this email address and see if that narrows it down. Chip Edwards.
Chip Edwards is a great guy. He's speaking this weekend. He sponsored the Super Entrepreneur Conference this weekend with CreateMyVoice.com.
I just need to do a sponsorship for this weekend. So we'll talk off air and get that.
Yeah,
we'll signal
awesome.
the deal in right then and there. So
I appreciate that, Tim. Yeah. And I'm hoping we were talking about me speaking at your event. I'd absolutely love to.
Well, my virtual one, I got to put you in my virtual one now, because now that I have to do it virtual, heck yeah, it's not that hard for you to do.
No, it's not. It's not. I'd be honored to.
Yeah. All right. Well, first of all, I mean, tell them the link to get to your. I mean, so the audio version. Tell them the link.
Yeah. So if you want to come, if you're listening to this and it's not Saturday, but even if it is past Saturday, go to Super Joe Pardo pardo.com/super. And you can get the conference for free. It's both streaming on YouTube as well as Facebook. You can join the conversation. So if you have a Facebook account, you can jump right into the conversation and get your comments thrown up on the screen.
The screen, like we've been doing here. Yeah,
immortalized. Yeah, into the video, which it's just a lot of fun to be able to give instant reaction to what the speakers are saying. I actually am on the schedule to speak, but I do not think I will be speaking. I actually have somebody else that I think is taking my spot, which is all right with me, because I will be I have to be on for 8 hours. Thank you for sharing that, Reger. And
Reger's a good guy, man. I'm glad we met him.
He is. I have yet to meet him in person. Hopefully after all this is over, we should go for a walk, Reger, because he lives one town over. So we should go for a walk. So yeah, I'm hoping to come and deliver some great content, some great entertainment, some great inspiration this weekend, and we will be raising money. We're gonna set the goal this time. It's gonna be $1,000.
Yeah.
I haven't figured out who that's going to be. It probably will be for a children's food, like the children's food fund.
Yeah. It's what I know you're going to find a good charity just from watching your history. So, I mean, there's going to be a good charity.
I worked for a nonprofit for a little while, for about 1.5 years there too. And I shout out to HopeWorks in Camden, New Jersey. They are absolutely awesome people. And I adore the time that I spent with them. We'll be raising money for a charity and or Children's Hunger Fund. That's at CHF. Okay. Yeah, so possibly that one, because of all the people that are struggling to get food and all that, and resources are tight. So anyway, that's it. Come hang out. Come have a great time on this Saturday.
Yeah. So, Joe, I like to close my podcast out with a little game I like to call This or That. Are you willing to play?
Of course. I'm down. Let's go.
I made a list.
Oh, boy.
I always like to start off with this one here. It's one of my favorites to ask. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh, man. I'm gonna say Star Wars, but I'm not a huge buff of either of them, honestly.
I figured with the Disney thing I was going to get Star Wars.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm more Star Wars than Star Trek. Though I will say that I've watched a couple of episodes of Star Trek, and the newer Star Trek movies are good. Yeah. But that's not why you like Star Trek, right? No. Like I wouldn't say like I'm the biggest Star Trek fan because I like those two movies, but yeah, I would have to say Star Wars because of the universe, for sure.
Yep. How about this one here? Apple or PC?
So I'm streaming to you from my laptop, my Windows PC. Here's my MacBook Pro that it's all encased in. I have a Windows desktop upstairs. There's a Windows desktop server right there on that right there. So I could go either way. I think if I'm at a desktop, Windows definitely. If I'm on a laptop, the trackpad on the Mac can't be beat. So it's not even a competition at that point. So I would say overall probably the MacBook, just because I can do everything from one space for the most part. But I can't game on it, so that's why I got to have Windows.
So this next one I kind of figured out because you've showed me, but car or truck?
Definitely cars. Yeah. Fast cars.
All right. This one here is kind of a little bit, I usually ask this in a different way, but considering where you live, I'm going to tweak it. Jersey Shore or Pocono Mountains?
Oh, definitely Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
Ocean City, New Jersey specifically. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not a mountains. I'm not even a beach guy either. Just, but I
usually say beach
stuff.
or mountains, but in your case, I wanted to go, I know the beach and mountains because I grew up up there.
I mean, I've been to the Pocono Mountains a few times, but I'm not into skiing or anything like that. So, for me, definitely Shore.
My mom and dad's house was on the backside of Camelback Mountain, and I've never been on a set of snow skis in my life.
Wow.
Like I could go over the back of the mountain to the ski slope faster than driving around to it, and I still have never been on skis.
Wow. I've been to Camelback to go tubing twice, which was it's a long drive to go tubing, honestly.
Yeah, it is. So this next one here, and I know you're probably more into baseball, but I'm going to do this one: Eagles or Giants?
Oh, definitely Eagles. Yeah, I do like baseball a lot. But I like I don't know. I don't have they don't air the games over the air for the most part. So I can't watch the Phillies games because I don't have cable here anymore. So it makes it kind of hard.
I've been to Phillies games. I've when I lived in Philly, the only thing I never went to was an Eagles game.
Oh, really? It's fun. I'd rather watch it on TV though.
Yeah, but wait a minute. But here in Dallas, as an Eagles fan, I've been to the Cowboys-Eagles game. It's fun to go that way.
I bet it is. I have quite a few friends that are Dallas fans that live in Dallas area. And
So this next one here goes back to an old movie I'm sure you and I have both watched. Red Pill or Blue Pill?
I always forget which one's which.
So is it
the reality as we know it? Ignorance is the red pill, right?
I think.
Oh, come on! You're asking a question. You gotta know.
The unpleasant truth is the red pill. Blissful ignorance is the blue pill.
Yeah. So that always go for the truth. Definitely the red pill.
So you want the truth and not the. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, ignorance is bliss. Don't get me wrong. But I, as a person who prides themselves on doing and going for it constantly, definitely got to go the red pill. Plus, there was a documentary called The Red Pill, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
Really,
I've seen that. Yeah, it was interesting. But that's one of those ones that, I was trying to go with what was you. Now, these last two here are ones that I throw in for everybody. This next one can create wars.
Oh boy.
All right. Especially right now, if you don't have any of this. All right. It's toilet paper, over or under.
Definitely. It's meant to be over. Yeah. That's what the patent, I think, says. The patent shows that it's being over.
A patent person would know that too.
I'm friends with the person that works at the patent office, actually. But yeah, it definitely, you gotta go. It has to be over. Like it's not okay.
It's not okay. One of the girls I had on Monday actually said, "Listen, I date guys. If I go to their house the first time and it's under, I switch it. The second time, I'll switch it. If I come back a third time and he's put it back that way, I'm breaking up with him." And I thought that was the best answer to that question.
Yeah, because it just takes too much time and effort. Like. We've already went through the effort.
All right. So here's the last one. Boxers or briefs?
Definitely boxers, but I do a lot of compression shorts too. The chafing is real when you go running. Or in this case, running around the house trying to chase two kids. Or
when you're doing your podcast and you don't have any pants on, you're dressed from Larry and I were last week, 2 weekends ago.
Lauren was the same way. Yeah, he didn't wear pants apparently during it.
Well, I had my pajama bottoms on, and when I seen Larry did it, I'm like, I'm doing it too.
Yeah. Well, I'm in running shorts right now because I didn't have time to get a shower afterwards.
Yeah, no, I'm fully dressed working on all of these this week. I have you're one of 8 interviews and 9 total meetings I have today, so it's like I'm dressed.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I love it.
Super Joe Pardo, it has been fun having you on the podcast today. Oh my God, it has just been a blast. So tell everybody your website and again, so they can come find you at these events.
Yeah, superjoepardo.com or go to indiepodcon.com. And Super Tim, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on. And I'm so glad that we've got to know each other, Mr. Not Tom Petty. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the best joke I have going on for me. All right.
I'm very depressed that he passed away.
Oh, so am I.
It definitely seems still a bit too early. And we went to see me and my wife went to see Fleetwood Mac when they were here in Philly, and I guess his guitarist was with them, or bass player was touring with the band at the time.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool. Because they did a tribute to him in their what's it called? Encore.
Yeah, the heartbreaking one I had because I was watching the Eddie Money show recently. Eddie Money passing away. It was just so tragic. He was one of the most lighthearted, sweetest people that I've ever met in rock and roll. But Tom Petty, I would have loved to have met Tom Petty in person and had him, the two of us with pictures side by side. And it just,
Tom Petty was in that Save That Money music video. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
He was in it for like 2 seconds, which I was like, why is he? I couldn't understand, but it was so cool to see Tom Petty in a music video.
Wait a minute, we've got to answer this question, and we're going to close with this. How did Tim Gillette and Super Joe Pardo meet? From a comment in Podcast Movement Facebook.
Was that
group.
it?
Yes.
Was that it? Were you asking for like?
No. I think Jared asked a question, and you and I answered something very similar. And I reached out to you, and I said, "Hey, man, I want to connect with you. You sound cool."
I do remember. I remember you reaching out to me.
Yeah.
And then we had a call, and I guess that was like probably 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's been almost 2 years.
But yeah, was it? Okay, yeah. So I figured it probably was about that, and I'm so glad. I'm disappointed I haven't gotten a chance to come out to one of your events and be a part of them. But it's been Alfred Yahoo made a comment.
I made a comment.
That's the story. I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah.
I knew it was through like the Facebook groups and stuff like that.
It was.
I didn't think I had a formal introduction to you.
No, it was something Jared was, how Jared did in Podcast Movement in that group. He would ask questions that engage people. Mm-hmm. And literally it does. I can tell you how many times I've met people through that group from some question that Jared asked.
Yeah, I try to do that in Indie PodCon whenever I can. I shout out to David O'Steele, who's been manning that for me as far as like trying to post the questions and inspirational stuff to get the interactions going. But especially in this last couple of weeks, I've been like crazy busy with these conferences. But yeah, it's the level of that's something I don't think I even thought about in those interactions is people to make connections based on people's answers.
Yeah.
So even though I've lived it, it hasn't occurred to me till just now, like that it can be an absolute goal for people to try to make it a thing.
Yeah.
And also real quick, one of the what was it? Frank Farrell. He said, "Oh, that background is real," and of course it's real, because who would you like have chairs sitting on the ground behind them, like stacked up, and tables behind
who else
them?
would have insulation sticking out of their wall?
Yeah, exactly. Like, of course it's real. Like this is horrific, but it'll be fixed at some point.
Hey, but when you're Super Joe Pardo, you can get away with this stuff.
So it's funny. Like I remember telling my dad, like my goal, and this is I guess after about a year or so after, or no, because I wasn't even going by Super Joe Pardo yet.
Yeah.
Which you never even asked me how I got. Like you didn't ask me how I got that name, right? It was a friend of mine gave it to me back in 2006. If you go to my superjoepardo.com, go to my about, and you scroll down, there's a hand-drawn picture of Super Joe Pardo that was like drawn, left on my desk, and said like because I was feeling pretty down about myself, and my boy Matt, who's like my brother, I was working with him at the time in the same office at the shop at the business, and he was like, you try to make everybody else feel so happy and everything, and like that's you right there. And I put it in the drawer, and I found it, I don't know, like years later, like when I left the company, I like was going through all my drawers, and I was like, oh man, this is still here. So I took a picture of it, and now it's on my site. But and that's how I ended up going with the superjoepardo.com. I think I registered it shortly after, like 2014 or 2015, but I didn't actually use it. Anyway, the point of it is really to raise other people up and to bring the super out of them. That's why I was like, what's up, Super Tim? And I just think that everybody has the ability to just dig deeper for themselves and for the people around them. And if you really want it, like, it's there to do it. So you can be the super version of yourself.
It's almost like you're trying to bring out the Superman in everybody.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm not even a big Superman fan. I think he's very boring, actually. But wait
a minute. One of the podcasts I've been on was Dean Kane's Superman.
Really?
Yeah, I've been on Dean Kane's.
Wow,
podcast.
That's pretty awesome.
I've got that interview where you're getting interviewed by Dean Kane. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure Dean Kane is a wonderful fellow.
He is awesome. I love him. Yeah.
But
he's the intro to my speaker video. It's the intro to my speaker video is, hey, I hear you know Tim Gillette. So do I.
I don't know. To me, the character is just, I don't know. It's always been kind of boring to me, but I'm not a big superhero person either. So not big on Star Wars, not big on Star Trek, not big on superheroes. I don't know. I like playing video games, man.
Wait a minute. How about Super Mario Brothers?
So yeah, Super Mario Brothers. There you go. That's more. I'm Italian, and the been known to plunge a few things. I am. So Alfredo says I am the super version. I just get labeled trollish all the time via chats, right, Fraser? And Eileen Smith. Oh, I love Eileen Smith. I was just talking to somebody about Eileen Smith.
Yeah.
And there's another question there.
I don't know how to put that up. For Tim's, you go to timgillette.com/podcast interview, and you could make a submission to get it.
For my show right now, I'm not taking interviews. But if you have a podcast, Alfredo, you can go to indiepodcon.com/guest, which Tim totally should do, and grab a time because we're already booked out like months in advance.
Yeah.
And we can schedule on that. If you have a podcast, if you don't have a podcast, get a podcast.
Now, that is one of the things my mentor and speaker trainer told me many, many years ago. You want to get on stages as a speaker, have your own events. You want to get on other people's radio shows, have a radio show. You want to get on people's blogs, have a blog.
Mm-hmm. Well, we did the same thing with raves. That was back in the day. It's like you got to host your own parties. You want to DJ? Host a party. Like, that's what you got to do. And LAN parties, I've hosted so many LAN parties, and we got bigger and bigger, where we were hosting like 512 people, where everybody's, if you don't know what a LAN party is, everybody brings their computer to an event, usually a big hall, or in this case, it was the indoor parking garage at the MRS, the Millville Rescue Squad. They moved all the rescue squad vehicles out, and we bought a transformer, put it in, and we had enough power for everybody. This was like 2005, I think, 2004, 2005. And so like we just did it. Like that's what you have to do. You have to do it, and then you'll get good at it. And speaking of that, like you want to get good at speaking, have a podcast, because you're going to be speaking all the time. If you're shy about it, you're going to get better at it.
Yeah.
So I
trust me, I've
on
more. Other people's things for years, doing like radio shows and stuff, and like you don't want to go hear my early interviews. They sucked. Yeah. So.
Yeah, the only way to get better is put the reps in. Keep doing it. Keep digging.
So, Joe, I'm going to close this down. I do have to get ready for another podcast.
It's all good. We only went a half hour over. That's
Only
good.
a half
That's good
hour
for
over,
me.
but if you're kidding, we had a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. It was such a great time.
Yeah. So, guys, Tim Gillette Show. I'm going to close this down for a day. Super Joe Pardo, we're going to have to bring him back to do another episode. I mean, this guy's just so much fun.
Oh, thank you so much. I would absolutely love it. I look forward to having you on the Indie Pod podcast.
Yep. All right, guys. Tim Gillette Show. I'll be back real soon with another great interview. I'm Tim Gillette. See you later.